Hello everyone, this is Shamsi and welcome to my top 10 tips for controls and quality of life in Dual Universe. Now, some of these took me an embarrassingly long period of time to figure out for myself. Some I learned from the community in Reddit, on YouTube, so do keep an eye on the resources coming out from other players in this game. Some of them are very useful. Um, and these are things I wish I'd known in my first week and a half of playing. Although one of the tips that I'll start with here took me a full 2.5 weeks to play. So tip number one: if I press escape and general settings is what opens up, there's a button here called Show Hints. For 2.5 weeks, I struggled with the tips window popping up here, getting in the way of my flight instruments, getting in the way of everything, and causing me frustration in having to, while I'm trying not to plummet belly first onto the ground at Alioth, having to click off the hints and tips trip saying, you're burning up. Well, I know. So if you press escape right in front of your face here, I don't know why it took me so long to notice, uncheck this box and the hints and tips will leave you alone. Um, the next tip, tip number two, I think I learned from a video by a YouTuber. I think it was Wasmatic, who's a fellow British streamer. Um, let's get to my pilot seat here. So again, for the first two and a bit weeks of the game, I thought piloting was basically WASD. You had to use your mouse to look around and your keyboard to pilot, which got weird from time to time. I didn't like it very much. But if you right click your pilot's chair, down here in advanced, control screen, you can move it to another setup. One of which is a virtual joystick, which basically puts up a little circle, and then if you move out of this dead zone, you'll start to turn. You'll turn hard if you move it to the edge. I don't particularly like this setup. I like it when the mouse directly controls the ship. So advanced, change control scheme, mouse direct control, and now my mouse, by turning the mouse, I directly move the ship left, right, up, down. The next thing I want to talk about, and this took me a few days to figure out, although I'm not entirely sure I'm right in what I'm about to say. But if you again go right click on your pilot's chair, go down to advanced, and then go to edit Lua parameters, there are these two things here. By default, this is clicked off, and both of these are set to 2. Sorry, no. By default, this is on and this is off, and both of this are set to 2. Now, when you are turning your ship, if you generally fly big fat haulers like I do, when you're turning, your ship rolls, and if your adjuster placement isn't perfect, that can get difficult to fly at times. I think what turn assist does, or at least what I noticed when I turned it up from 2 to 4, is it stops your ship rolling as much as you're turning. Now, I know some people like to turn their ships while flying by rolling to the side and then pitching up. I have plummeted into the ground far too many times to do that. The way I turn is either very slowly on a vertical plane or landing the ship and then orientating in the way I want it to go and taking off again. I find that to be safest. But what you'll find when you're turning, your ship still rolls a bit, and when you turn on this auto roll and turn it up from whack it from 2 to 4, what happens is when your ship does roll, it auto corrects. So Lua kind of brings your ship back onto a level keel, and the other one, the turn assist, stops it rolling as much in the first place. So roll less in the first place and then automatically roll back when you do roll. So do play around with these. They are quite cool. Another thing to bear in mind is scaffolding. Now, I heard and I saw quite a few players build like earthwork scaffolding to get up to a large static core, for instance, that they placed too high up. They forgot to put a voxel down on the ground to access build mode, and then you think you'd have to build scaffolding to get up to it. But ooh, is that a yes? That is more than one offending voxel. I am terrible at earthworks. Let's quickly get rid of these. I guess this is why my videos take too long. I get distracted easily. Now, let's lift my main ship up here. So assume for a moment I had a static core way up there that I couldn't access. I just put a dynamic construct there below it, enter build mode on the dynamic construct, go up as high as I can go, and then quickly press B and press B again. The first B takes me out of build mode on my ship, and the second B puts me into build mode for the static core. So let's pretend the static core is right in front of me here. Double tap B, and I'm in build mode on the next static core up. So I don't need to build scaffolding. I can just use another dynamic, another construct, preferably a dynamic construct, to kind of jetpack my way up to the other core that I can't access. And then the next tip, and this took me a good few days to figure out, when you are just normally walking around your base with your jetpack, you are limited in movement on a vertical plane like this. But if you say I'm working around and setting up industry here in my production factory, if I'm in build mode, I can still access all of my industry units just fine. All I have to do is go up to them, press F. And so now that I'm in build mode just in around my base, I can move around freely with my jetpack. So if you have a base that's large or a base that's on multiple levels and you need to get around it, just live in build mode while you're in your base. And if you're in an enclosed base like this, I am going to rebuild this base to make this surface nice and smooth as well. But if you're inside, you don't have to worry about these blue grids getting in your way and clogging up your UI. The next tip is about movement. Now, earlier today we went to markets 3 and 7 and 5, and when we were there we saw some really cool and interesting builds. Somebody had built a ship in the shape of a pyramid, and once I can figure out how to do it, I will be copying it. I've called my internal character organizations the Grand Hierophants. I'm doubling down on the pyramid theme. But if I am in a market and there's all sorts of cool ships all around me and it's lagging and the frame rates are low and it's stuttering, if I'm trying to move forward by double tapping W, which is what the tutorial tells you to do, in the low FPS zones, there will come times when those keystrokes won't register well enough for you to be able to move quickly. In those instances, if you just use Control Z, which is the auto run button, even if doubling, quadrupling, pentupling, clicking W doesn't work, Control Z will always work to get you into fast movement. The next tip I have is again to do with crowded places. Suppose you've landed on the landing pad on Alioth District 7 Market, and there are utter behemoth monstrosities and some really cool builds all around you, and 1750 small shuttles strewn in every direction you can see, and taking off is going to be difficult because you actually want to head this way and your ship is pointing this way, and if you take off, if you don't have skills for vertical boosters or hovers to increase your height, you're not going to be able to clear the obstacles in time to be able to not hit them. And in situations like that, what I normally do is take my construct maneuver tool, which by default is number 7, click on it, lift it up, and then turn it in the direction that I want it to face. So lift it up and turn it. So now, before I even get in the pilot seat, my ship is slightly higher above the obstacles and pointing in the direction that I want it to move in. So that makes taking off a lot easier. And I'm sure I'm not going to include this as a tip. I'm sure everyone already knows. If you have large engines like this and they take time to spool up, if you keep your air brake pressed, by default that's control, so keep control pressed for the first few seconds while your engines warm up. When you let go of control, you suddenly take off and clear obstacles. So hopefully. So that's a little bonus tip there. Another little tip to do with flying, if I quickly pop into the pilot seat, with my vertical cross-section being the way it is on this ship, if I go faster than 1050 kilometers per hour on Alioth, the atmosphere is going to start burning me apart. But it's really annoying to have to constantly manage your speed by controlling throttle level, by scrolling your mouse wheel up and down, and by controlling your brakes. And in those situations, if you press cruise control and you roll your mouse up, you see it's now set to 50 or 60. You can set it to maintain your speed at 1050, at 1050 kilometers per hour. And so you can stop thinking about it. Now, there are Lua scripts and things that we're going to talk about in just a moment. But in general, getting cruise control to maintain your speed is useful, though I wouldn't do that on re-entry into a planet with my space engines. I would always want to manually control my space engine speed coming into a planet so as A, to not crash, and B, to avoid having to learn all this stuff later. I want to practice and practice now so as to not blow up much more expensive ships later. The next tip, following on from the Lua parameters and so on, is try to get into Lua scripting. I'm about to start that process myself. It's always good to improve and build upon what your knowledge and experiences is like in the game right now. And one very easy but also very effective and useful post that I found, I'll put the link in the description below, is a post by a user called Dimensia that includes a HUD, a heads-up display overhaul made by another character, and basic autopiloting scripts for space and so on that you can, dip your toe into the Lua scripting water with. It's very well laid out, very well explained. One of the creators is on Twitch, I think, and has a video showing himself implementing it all. And I would heartily recommend you go out and check out that post on Reddit by Dimensia. It's updated regularly, and get into Lua scripting yourself. The next tool, the tip I want to talk about, is voxel placement. So let's give a real life example of that. What's my linked container here? I don't need to move back to base. So let's give a real life example of that. Let's say I'm mining, and so I've pretty much emptied most of the voxels near me out anyway. So let's say I've gone to this place up here, somewhere maybe there, and I've landed my ship at the intersection of these three hexagons here, right in the middle, and I want to use 3 territory scanners to scan them all at the same time. Let's get territory scanners back out, 3 of them. So if I enter build mode and I try to place a territory scanner out here, it just won't place. And if I want to place it on the surface, it goes any which way. But if I start the placement, now this works both for voxels and for elements. If I start it here and use my fine-tune movements, page up, page down, left or right with the arrow keys, even pressing it once, I can no longer move the element with my mouse. I can only move it with up, down, left, right, page up, page down. But as you see, it takes a bit of time to click it all the way out to the corner. So what I do instead is I have the element started here, hold down the T key, and now with it locked into this plane, I can move it into this corner, let's say here. And then when it's close, I fine-tune its movements to the end there. The other thing I can do with a T key pressed is scroll my mouse up and down to increase and decrease the height of the element. So what I can do is place one there, place one here, and place one over on this corner, and all 3 of these will be in separate tiles, and they'll take 15 minutes to scan the contents of the tile for ore. So I don't waste my time mining a tile that, say, only has 11,000 of malachite and limestone. I spend my time mining ones that have, 30,000 plus. So I can see, if there's any acantite in the tile, if there's a good amount of limestone and malachite. And, while they're scanning, I can mine a little bit of, close to the surface tier 1 ores, just to fill the large container with a little bit of... I must have moved all 6 with a little bit of ore while they do their thing. But let's pick these up for now. Yeah. Ah, yes, I know what I did. I put 3 in here, but still built out of my original container. So there's 3 in the base and 3 in here. I didn't lose a territory scanner to server glitches. Thank goodness. Right. And there you have it. That's 10 tips that I wish I knew on my start in journeys across the Novian system here. And I hope it's been helpful to you and you've been able to gain something useful from it. If you have, please do consider liking the video or subscribing to the channel on YouTube, or even following me on Twitch. I am streaming this game 3-ish days a week now, so you can find me live there and come hang out. Until the next time, thanks for watching and bye for now.